Hey guys, it's Saturday, April 18th. As promised, wanted to put together a quick video on kind of how I see the market right now and just my approach and review a little bit of, the strategy over the past couple weeks and what I'm kind of looking at moving forward here. Obviously, we're fortunate, right? If you've been following me since January, February, right? We were fortunate to really catch the downside move here in SPY. I think this is when I was really sizing big in early February, right? It was actually like February 2nd when I started sizing big into puts. So we caught the downside move, like a 10% downside move, and then market had, I wouldn't even call this a V-shaped recovery, right? This is like on steroids recovery, which is fine. So like currently everyone's like, oh, you're bearish. I'm like, no, I don't have a bias right now, right? Like, and I never did. I've made a lot of money from here up, and just kind of saw the signs that there was weakness. So obviously, I think there's news that's come out. I think there was bombing of oil tankers, right? So weekend IG, if you look at it, obviously take it with a grain of salt. It has the Nas down about zero point 0.7, oil is up about 5%. Obviously, nothing matters until the cash open on Monday morning. I'd say even if we gap down 2% tomorrow night on futures, nothing matters until cash open. Right, we've seen gap downs of 2-3% get bought up by open. But kind of looking at my plan forward here, just like when we were down here, like in the 630s and 640s, I was not shorting because the risk to reward to short here was not good, right? Like you have eight eight red days in a row, you don't want to look to short. So at this point, when we're up here, um, it doesn't make sense from a risk and reward standpoint for me to look to swing any longs, at least with size, right? At this point, obviously on Friday, we caught some great trades with MSTR and Tesla. MSTR, I think like 700%, Tesla like 500-600% as well. So what I've been saying for quite some time is like I'm okay missing a week of upside until we get confirmation, right? Like I'm not chasing at this point. It could be a quote unquote lockout rally, but that's fine. I wasn't locked out over here, right? I'll miss this upside for a little bit, and we could jump in and make money when the opportunity is right. Like yes, like on Friday, right? I made a killing on Friday. So at this point, what I'd be looking for, as to feel comfortable with like longing with size is to see a retest of this previous all-time high, down to like 695, 697 on SPY. Obviously, the 8 day is all the way down here at 690. You got the 21 day all the way down here at 677. So this is SPY. If you look at the Qs are up towards like 648, right? Previous all-time high was 636. So I think what could happen on Monday is, we come back and we test this all-time high, at least on the Qs, right? That's 1.5, 2%, and from there, what I'd like to see is we come down, test it, and consolidate a little bit for this 8 day to catch up and provide support. And then once it provides support, it provides a great asymmetrical trade, to look to go from longs from there. Obviously, we'd like to see the 21 day and the rest of these higher time frame EMAs catch up as well, but I'd feel more comfortable once the 8 day comes up and we test it. Another scenario is 8 day comes up and the news gets worse, and a lot of the news that's been out there has kind of been, oh, fake news, for lack of a better term, right? I think Trump comes out and says something, then Iran comes out and says something. You can't really trust anything that's going on right now with the news, in my opinion. So you really just got to play it day by day. You could see here with oil, came down here on Friday and pretty much like hammered off the 21 week, right? And based off the news over the weekend and IG weekend oils, it looks like oil is going to bounce back pretty strong here. So it looks like it came down here and kind of swept these lows and probably see oil make a nice recovery back. Obviously, with crypto, we saw a big strong push on Friday. That's what led to being able to catch MSTR for those big gains. But see, we kind of came up to the 21 week and rejected it, and now it looks like we're probably going to flag out here for a bit and consolidate. So as long as Bitcoin really holds the 8 day, these higher time frame EMAs come up as well, and we start flagging and get some momentum to break over the 21 day. Yeah, I think crypto bounces back, right? Um, if you've seen the charts of IGV, the software ETF and crypto, there's strong similarity across them, right? So let me actually pull this up here. So IGV. Sorry, let's turn all these off. Oh, typically, like if you look at IGV, there was some capitulation here, some high volume, right? So we see a bounce come in, and that's pretty much these charts are very similar, right, between Bitcoin and IGV. So Bitcoin is being treated as a software, and if we see continuation from software, right, to the upside, where this is definitely the bottom, right? I think Bitcoin kind of follows there. The mags. Let me go back to single. So Tesla had a big day on Friday. They have earnings, I think, on Wednesday, but there's, this 414.50 area has been, the support resistance flip line, right? So probably push up into it might push up into 414 into earnings. Probably like what I would like to see, honestly, is like maybe push up and then come back down to sweep to like the 360, 370, and then come back up and rip through on Tesla. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll cherry pick some of them. Microsoft, obviously, it was good down here from the bottom. At this point, that close on Friday is kind of weak, right? A nice long doji. It still is over the 21 week, but if it gets some momentum, I mean, again, these are all super extended, right? And sorry, going back to SPY, there's a lot of gaps underneath there. There's a lot of air. It's not structurally sound. So, even if you're bullish, you want to see this consolidate. The faster that this goes up, there's less structure, which means it's more likely to come down, right? Is it gonna, are we gonna come back down and see the lows? Probably not. I don't know. No one knows, but you just kind of have to, like, say, like, keep your head on a swivel and see, be mindful of the fact that it's ran for 6, 7 days, right? On a historic run, there's gaps down here. We're pretty extended from the EMAs, so a pullback is expected, right, at this point, and I think we're going to see that early next week. Nvidia, obviously charging ahead. There is a gap here between 200 and 202. So it's right in the middle of that, kind of filling that fair value gap. Um, we could potentially see what I would look for Nvidia is like, are we going to see a massive double top here, right? Because if you go back to, right, I mean, that might take till earnings for that to happen. But if you go back to Microsoft's chart, like that's exactly what happened here. Boom, double top and then came down. Um, is that likely? I don't know. I mean, Nvidia it could easily rip, right? It could easily just take off from here and continue running. Some names that I'm watching, a lot of names that are showing relative strength. I think we all know them. So I have these on my immediate watch list and alert set. But some other names that like I find interesting are Rivian. I know this was everyone's darling for a bit. We made a lot of money here in September, November. I wrote it up, right? It was always like, hey, anytime Rivian came back and touched the 8 day, just buy calls, right? And we were able to do that, but then here it kind of topped out. Came down the gutter here to like the low like 13.50, $14, and now you can see it's starting to trend back up. The trend spine is flipped green. It's starting to get some momentum. Obviously, the close on Friday was a little weak, but I think this is one that I'm probably going to look to get calls like 3 months out, potentially like $18, $20 calls for June or July. Um, Marvell has been on an absolute tear too. This is one that would look for entry in. You obviously see this volume coming in on March 6th. From here, it's ran. So from March 6th to April 17th, it's ran 78%, right, which is absolutely crazy. It could continue running very easily, right? But and it broke this high from January 2025, right? I think this is, as you can see here on the chart, it goes in waves, right? It's going up, coming down, right? Going up, coming down. It's going up right now. Actually, as I'm looking at it now, I want to take a look at. Turn this off. Easier this way. I want to see this. Yeah. So now that I zoom out a bit, it'll be interesting to see what happens once it gets to this trend line. Um, could see something like where it comes into here and then ends up rolling over, right? And doing this whole pattern again to come back up. But Marvell's one that is definitely on my watch. It's been strong, right? If it breaks this trend line and we get a retest, great. But I think at this point, right, what do we have? Probably room up to, I would watch it closely around the 145 area. Um, YSS, another one that kind of been, I think I mentioned that on the chat the other day. That some people got into it. Um, we want to see this tighten up a bit as well for the EMAs to catch up. So you see here, it's anytime it touches the 8 day, it's bouncing off, right? So I want to see this kind of tighten up here, flag out, and then break out. On this, we're in this Friday, got stopped out. It closed literally right at $10. I'm going to keep it on watch because, like, if the market does continue to rip, and obviously we get a pullback, but if it does continue to bounce, um, I don't want to be in the names that already ran like 30, 40%. I want to be in some of the laggards that have had momentum in the past, right? So I think on this provides great risk reward. I mean, you can even jump in shares I mean, you could jump in shares. I could tap the 50 day, tap the 8 week, right? So this entire EMA cluster is right here. You could jump in shares and have a pretty defined stop loss, right? Maybe if it close underneath the 8 week. But this is something I think could definitely go back to the highs of 15 shortly. Data center names have been strong. Applied APLD is something I'm watching this week. It's starting to tighten up here. Again, the EMA's cross over. It's kind of broke out of this little wedge down here, right? So once this could break out, I like this. Cipher, one that I mean made a lot of money on early in the year because I was in it down here. I was buying it in August at like $6, $7. Um, and it's just kind of kept stalling out, stalling out. But now I think the momentum's picking back up. It's getting good volume in. It's a lot stronger than iron. I think the dilution with iron is hurting it. So Cipher is definitely one I'd look to get into as well. I'm going to put a trade plan out there. Um, Exxon, always interesting, right? I think when it comes down, these oil names, especially Exxon, have a tendency to kind of shake people out and then recover. Is this going to go back to the highs? I don't think so, right? Unless the war kind of escalates and oil prices keep going up, but it provides a strong risk reward here. I mean, we'll probably see this open on Monday. If I had to guess, I mean, Sunday night price is different, but if it's had like open on Monday, probably around like the 152 area. Some other names definitely like AXTI. These names are just beasts, right? So want to find any kind of entry on either the 8 day or 21 day. Any pullbacks on these names, obviously getting a topping signal here on AEHR, but any pullbacks on these names into the 8 day or the 21 day, we'd be looking to get into. MU, I'm probably gonna look to short this. It looks like a potential double top here. I know it's a scary name to short, but man, if it could push up here to like the 472 area, I would look to short it with the tight stop loss on a close over 472. So other names, I'm not going to go through everything, but EOS was obviously in the doghouse for a bit, but it, it's it's recovering, right? Trend spine's turning green. It's reclaiming some of the key moving averages. Obviously, kind of pinned here underneath the 50 day, but there was a massive gap here, right? that it could fill. So this is of interest to me to get into, whether it be shares or some further dated calls. And then let's see what else. IONQ, as much as I shorted the shit out of quantum, last year on the way down. I mean, this is notable. Like this volume coming into IONQ, Rigetti, like they're getting volume in and they're bouncing. It looks like it's going to recover. So I think a lot of these like quote unquote like shit stocks are going to get some inflows into it. So this is one that I'd probably look to long as well. Once it could tighten up, maybe on a test of the 8 day or the 21 week. What else we got? AAOI. I think I mentioned on the chat, like on Wednesday or Thursday, like entry was down here at 138 and it just ripped off, right? So anytime like these leaders with like high relative strength, anytime it's getting down to the EMAs, you got to jump in there, in my opinion. But yeah, so again, just wanted to again provide an update for you guys what I'm looking at. Um, I would expect like what I'd look for is a gap down on Monday, right? And we all know about the new week opening gap, right? So if we get a gap down, potentially retest all time highs and then fill that gap maybe Wednesday or Thursday. But there's still a lot of space down here too. So I am completely open to both sides and we'll just play whatever's in front of us. Can make money both ways, right? As we saw, with Tesla, this rip, MSTR had a huge day. We'll see what happens with crypto. I think MSTR like massive volume here on Friday, massive volume. So this could definitely put in a bottom here and start heading back towards 300, in my opinion, 280. But yeah, again, wanted to give an update for you guys. Let us know if you have any questions. As always, trade your plan. I'm traveling next week for Vegas to Vegas for a work conference, but since it is Vegas and it is Pacific Standard Time, I could be on in the mornings for like an hour or two, potentially, depending on how the night before goes. But I guess again, appreciate your support, and yeah, let's make some money.